Hello and welcome back to our channel. In this video, we will continue our Postman video series for testing API requests. In this video, we will cover how to set your tests for your API requests, which means like how to set an expected test result in your API request so that when we send a request, Postman will compare the response which we are getting back with the expected test results and will give you a pass or fail depending on the response if it meets the expected results. We will see two different types of examples for how to set expected results. One is setting your status as an expected result, and the second will be setting an value which you are expecting from the response. So let's begin. So let's begin. Um, for our example purpose, I have taken a public API, which free public API. This one is called api.publicapis.org/entries. So this is a free API wherein you can send a request and you'll get back get back a bunch of APIs which are free, which you can use for your testing. So let me just first let's send this request. So as I send this request, we get a response back. As you can see, it's giving back a bunch of free APIs which we can use for uh, which is for public use and we can use for your testing or to learn about APIs. Now here what we're gonna do is just for that. So this has a lot of value. So first, what I'm gonna do is copy all of this, the response, entire response body, copy it and try to put it in a just view it in a way so that we can recognize how much data it contains. So for that purpose, I'm gonna go to something called it's a free JSON viewer. So if you just paste it over here, and here you can see. So if you see on the right side, this shows it has 140 like 1425 nodes within this entries. So 1425 different responses or different URLs embedded in this response. So in each of them will have different parameters: the API name, the description, the authorization key, the HTTP protocol, the URL, and the category. So all of them, there's like 1425 different APIs, public APIs, which we can use. So that is contained in the body of your response. Now, given that, so how do you build your test? So your first test, like well, a simple test would be like to ensure like the status is 200, right? So when you run a request, you're expecting it to 200. That's a basics. For that, what we can do is when you go to your request, in your request, this is your request body, authorization headers, pre-request script, and test. So if you click on test here, all you have to do is go here and then click here, and then you need to let the postman know what you're expecting. So here we're expecting the response to have a status code 200. So we just have to write that. So the way the syntax is something like this. So you do pm.test, pm is postman, pm.test, and then open parenthesis. First, you will enter the message which we need to display, uh, which we need to display when this test pass, right? So we're going to say we expect the status to be status code is 200. That's what you want to display if it passes, right? So that's what I expected result is. So that's a message. Now, how are you going to compare it? We're going to put this into a function, and then the curly process will say pm dot response to have. It's like kind of like a plain English to have dot status, and then the value which you want to pass or check against, just put that value 200. And close the parenthesis, close this, and then come out and say a semicolon at the end. So basically, if we let's just go through this, we make it a little bigger. So as you can see here, so basically what you're saying is we are testing, we are setting a test expected test here. Basically, what we are asking is we are saying we're calling a function. We're asking Postman to check if the response has a status of 200. If it does, then return with a message saying status code is 200. So let's just try that. So now we already know that this is a successful message. There is a successful response generated out of it. So let's just see what happens when we put this and send that. So let me hit send. And once, okay, so we got an output. So it's a 200. So our test should have passed, right? And then now if you go to where you can see is you see test results here. So test results. So if you go there, it's going to say test pass, status code is 200. So basically, like when you write your testing in your test cases manually, you will have your test steps, and expected results and actual result, right? And then you say pass or fail. Similarly, it's the same thing. So this is your expected result column kind of thing. So you put in expected results, and a person, all it does is when it gets a response, it will verify if the actual result is same as expected result. If it is, it's going to do a pass. So that's how you can run this test case and have a result validate against a particular result and say if the test case pass or not, pass or fail. And this will be useful like when we build out our test suite in for while testing APIs. You have a bunch of test cases, right? So all you have to do is then run the entire collection, and then you'll get number of passes, number of fails. So this will help us validate our response against a expected result. Now, just to prove what happens when it's failed. So now here we're saying status code. We are expecting the status code 200. We got 200, and it gave since it is matching the expected, it gave a pass. Now, what if I was expecting a 400? So let's do that. The status code is 400, and I'll put it in the function as well. So now in our test cases, our expected result is we are expecting a 400 status code as 400 for our test case to be for our test to be considered as a pass. Now this is what we are expecting. Just an example, right? So let's send this. So once you send this, so look at that. So the test case failed because we are asserting that we expect a status code of 400, but we got 200. So Postman compared the expected with the actual and said since the actual is not meeting what we are expecting, it failed the test. So this is how you can set your expected results in your Postman request and get and validate your responses. Now this is just for status. I'll just give another example of where we can look for what if you're looking for a specific value in our response, right? So for example, now if you look in this one, the same example, we are getting so many entries as part of our response. Now, if you have to, if you are, so now we might have a test case where we are looking for a particular value in our response. We need to validate against that. So for that, what you're going to do is now, if you go back here, like in your JSON viewer, right? So you see in the response, it has entries and it has so many different nodes. So it has 1425 nodes. Now, if you're checking for a particular, for example, let's check this one. So let's check this one. So let's create a test case where we expect this API name equal to adopt a pet. And if it is there, the test case is a pass. If it's not there, the test case fails. So let's just do that. So how will we go about? So this is in the zeroth node, right, of entries. So what you're going to do is like you just copy this first and go back to your Postman. We can create another test case here, another validation. So what you'll do is pm.test, and what the message you want to give when it's passing is API name is the name which we copied. This is the name we're expecting, right? Now here what you're going to do is call a function and then do something like that. And so what you do is here here syntax changes a bit. What you got to do is get to a pm.expect. So this is expected from the Postman, right? What are we expecting? Like we are expecting that pm.response. So we need to tell from where we are looking, right? So where should this name be? So we have to give that path, the exact path. So we get pm.response dot JSON. So from the JSON response, right, from JSON response, and where in the JSON response? So if you go back here, you see in JSON response is under entries and the zeroth node, and this is the API field. So you just spell out the same thing here. So if PM Postman expect that within the Postman response from the JSON response, you have to do entries, and sorry, it was entries, and it was in the zeroth node, so 0 dot API, right? API. So that is the field. So in the zeroth node of entries, we're looking for API, and that API should have a name of adopter pet, right? So you say in that field, you go to that field, expect that in pm.response.json.entries.api, in that field should equal what? So it should equal this name. So the name of that field or the description of that field should be equal to this. Alright, and then we give a semicolon then, and that's it. So let's just go back again here. So let's just zoom in if we can. Zoom in. Okay. So here, so basically what it's saying is, in your this is our test. The pm.test is what it is. We are looking for an API name equal to adopter pet, and where are we looking for? So we are looking. So we are expecting in the response pm.response.json. In the response, if you go to the entries 0th node and against API, in that field name should equal to adopter pet. Now let's see before we run this. So we already know that. So let me just go back and double check it here. So this is the name, right? Adopter pet API 0. So now let me run this. So if I run this, so you see test one of the two, only one of the two pass. So if you go there, so but this one pass API name is adopter pet. So that's awesome. This is failing because there was our initial negative case, right? So then back to 200 to 200 here. So now both the test cases should pass. Awesome. There you go. So we had two test cases in here. One is we expect the status code to be 200, and second one we are also validating if the API name is adopter pet, and both of them pass. So now if I expect a different name, say for the 0th node of against API, if I was expecting, say, let me remove this, right? Let me just put pet and run it. So it's going to fail because it's looking for absolute the same value, right? So it's looking for the API name equal to be pet, but the API name is adopter pet, so it failed. So that's such an error, and it failed. Now that's how. So that's a great example of like how to validate a value within our response. So hopefully this video was useful to you. So here we checked how to check the status of the response, how to put the expected as particular status and validate against the response. And second, we also saw how to validate against expected value from a response. So if you are expecting a particular value in your response to be there, how to validate these two values. Hopefully this video is useful. Next video we'll continue with variables and how to use variables in Postman, and continue running out a test suite. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe to our channel. Thanks. Bye.